I am making a finger weaving video. Arush asked me, she actually emailed me last week and she said, Mrs. Chapman, can you make a video about your bracelets? I am assuming that she's talking about the finger weaving activity that we would do once we finished our work. And some of you would ask if you could borrow some or use some yarn to go ahead and work on finger weaving. So I'm going to show you how to finger weave today. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to cut our string to the right length. So we make sure that our bracelet is big enough to go around our wrist. So what I'm using a string today. I'm not using yarn because all of the yarn that I have is way too small for this. So I'm using string. So I'm going to unravel it. And the way that I'm going to do this, I'm going to stand up so you guys can see. I don't think I can, maybe I can do it this way. So I'm going to just grab it and I'm going to hold it from one end. Oh, I have to make myself bigger. Yay! Okay, this is your arm span. So your arm span is if you were to take your arms out from your body. Nice yoga pose. Yes, breathing in. I'm grabbing it from one end and then I'm going to cut my string over here. And that will be what I use. I already actually did that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use this for my finger weaving. Now, this could change depending on if you make your bracelet super small, you're not going to need as much string. If you're wanting it to be a necklace, you may want to make it a little bit bigger. If you are going to make your knots so they're nice and small, you might not need this size of string. Or if you're going to make your knots really loose, you might want to make it more. So it is a guideline. Using your arm span is a guideline. Please change it, if you need to. All right. So I'm going to now switch over to my Elmo so you can see the process that we do for finger weaving. Okay, so here we go. This is a video for Arush. She asked me last week if I could go ahead and I could do finger weaving for you, just so you can work on the bracelet. I did one with yarn, but it came out so tiny. Like this is actually after the finger weaving. And I'm trying to make sure that you can all see it. Sometimes you get a glare from the camera. But this is what it looks like afterwards, and it's just a little bit thicker than the string that I found. I wanted to find shoelaces, but unfortunately I'm not wearing shoelaces today, and nobody else on my floor. Miss D isn't wearing shoelaces, and Miss Langbauer isn't wearing shoelaces, and they're the only ones that are here. So we are going to use this string. All right, so finger weaving. Remember that you want a size that it's about your arm span long. And when you start, you're going to have the first part of your string. So the easiest thing for you to do first, you have to make what is called a slip knot. And the slip knot is the start. So you have to make from the short end of your string. You don't want to do it from the middle part of your string because then you'll waste a whole bunch of yarn. You want to do it at the end, beginning of your string. You're going to make a loop, just like this. Now your loop, you could call it your cursive L. So I'm making a loop like this. It can be an L, it can be a loop like a roller coaster. The main thing you want to remember is that the short end of your string is on the bottom. You should be able to pick up your string just like that. Okay, so you gotta be able to pick it up. If you have turned it around, say I do this to my string, so I'm just gonna see if I can do this. If I switch it, and if I put the short end of the string on top of the long end of the string, it's not going to work. Can't do it that way. So you have to make sure that the long end of your string is on top. All right, now we're gonna look at this part right here. This is, imagine this X that this is made, this little intersection that is made. You're going to want to hold on to that when you make
your slip knot. So I'm going to take the hand that really this one is my left hand. I'm right-handed. So all of my finger weaving is going to be done with my right hand. If you are left-handed, you are going to hold the string with your right hand. And your left hand is going to be what you do your finger weaving. All right, so I am going to hold my string. Now I want to make sure that I hold it right on that X, right on that part, because if I hold it down here, it's not really going to do anything. You want to make sure that you're holding onto it. You also want to make sure that your hole that you're going to be fishing in, this is your fishing hole, your fishing hole has to be big enough for both of your fingers to be able to go into. So I gotta turn it. So both my fingers can go in. If I've got a really small hole and only one finger can go into that space, I'm not going to be able to grab the string. Also, if my hole is huge, say my hole is huge, it makes it just a little bit clumsy, and then the next string, the next thing that's going to come out is going to be even bigger. So you want to make sure that this hole is not too big, not too small. You want it to be just right to put your two fingers in. Now, we're going to pretend that this is your lake and you are a very hungry bird. You're up in the sky, you see this lake, and you see some movement down below. This is your little fish right here that you're gonna wanna pull out of your lake. So I'm gonna go in, my big, huge pinchers. I'm super, super, super hungry. I wanna go in. I want to go into my lake, just like this. Mine's a little bit too small. I wanna go into my lake. Now, I am going, it's really hard to show it this way. I am going to go into my lake and I'm gonna grab that string, which is my fish. I'm gonna grab onto it and I'm gonna hold onto it as much as I can. And I'm gonna pull. All right. Now that makes, so after you pull that, you should have this bit of your string. You should have a knot, and then you should have another loop. And this is your start for your finger weaving. So I'm going to put this down so you can see it. I've got my string, my short end, my knot, my loop, and then my long part of my string. All right, I'm going to start this over. So I'm going to pull this string, undo, boom. I'm going to make sure that you know what it looks like. So again, I'm going to loop, hold on to my lake. My bird is going to go in. My bird is going to go in to my lake. It's going to pull out the string. Now, when this happens, this thumb that's holding on, you're going to loose that up just a little bit. You're still going to hold on to the main part of the string, but this is where you get that knot. So you're still holding on to the string over here, and then you make that knot. All right, so that's your start. Now, after you get this, you're just repeating the process. After you've done this first initial loop, you're just repeating. So I'm going to go into my lake, trying to make sure you can see, going into my lake, walk, walk, pull, yank out that fish. Now, my lake, if I keep going like this, it's fine. So notice I'm having to, my lake gets bigger and bigger with every pull. So you don't want to have a huge lake. So every time that lake seems like it's a little bit big, so say it's about this big, that's gigantic, right? You don't want your lake to be that big. So you're gonna pull that long string, and that makes your lake smaller. So I'm gonna go in, pull, make smaller. Now, and another thing is this hand doesn't do anything. It's just holding on. I know in class, sometimes some of you take the string, you're pulling it, you're doing all sorts of things with your non-writing hand. Your non-writing hand should be doing nothing but holding on to that string. So I'm going to keep on going, and you should get into a rhythm after a while, right? So I'm going to yank, then I'm going to pull out my string. I'm going to just keep on going all the way through. Now, once I am done, say I have made my bracelet, the way that you close it up, is you're going to do one final bird into the lake, pull. Now, when you do that, you're going to this time, instead of yanking so tight, you're going to gently pull that string so it comes all the way out and you no longer have a loop. This time it makes a knot, and that means that you're finished. And then you can go ahead, you could cut. I probably would want to have a little bit of string on this end and string on this end. That way, when you put it on your wrist, you can go ahead and you can tie it, and then you can cut the extra off. Now, once you get really advanced, you can do double strings. I think some of the kids were doing triple strings, something like that, if you want. All right. So that, in a nutshell, is finger weaving. If you need help, please ask your mom. I looked on YouTube, but all of the videos I found are really complicated, and I just needed to make something that I thought maybe would help you guys. All right, so have fun with this finger weaving adventure, and again, send me in photos of any of your completed work. I would love to see how it's coming on your end. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.